Welcome to episode 25 of the Last Down podcast. As you can see, I'm by myself today. Anguiano has a trip, a big major trip. Um, I'm Lopez. He's going to be prepping for the Green Bay LA Rams game this weekend. He's going to be able to attend and go watch his Rams. I was unable to attend. Unfortunately, the timing was off, and so I couldn't make it. I would have loved to enjoy going to that game, but unfortunately, things happen. And I mean, hopefully he has fun. But we're going to talk about that later on in the episode. It's just going to be a brief, short episode with some takes on certain games and definitely some conversations to be made about different things that happen, different, player moves, injuries, a lot of stuff that happened during week 8 of NFL football. Let's start off with a big game that I thought, started off the morning games pretty good, started the week pretty solidly. And that was the Eagles and the Commanders. I don't know why, but the previous game was also a big banger, and this time around it didn't disappoint. Hurts went for his 29 and 58, 319 yards and 4 touchdowns. AJ Brown had 8 receptions, 130 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And AJ Brown, my God, man, that man is on a roll. He's on a 6-game streak, 125 yards. It's impressive. And I know AJ Brown had frustrations in the beginning and had conversations with Hurts, and he made it happen. The guy has really balled out and really shown why, the Eagles got in him in the first place, because he's an elite receiver, and you need to hand him the ball at any cost, because he makes a small little pass into a big gain, a first down, stuff like that. And AJ Brown definitely deserved to go to the Eagles. And, again, they're just on a hot streak, and the Eagles are just looking like the team to beat now. Again, Hurts didn't do bad at all. 4 touchdowns, solid guy. Devonta Smith also had a touchdown, and I think Swift did too, but I could be wrong, but I think, Swift did have one. On the other side, Sam Howell also did not do too bad. Sam Howell did 39 for 52, 397 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. But if we're being honest, again, Sam Howell is not really the problem there. The problem is the defense. The problem is the play calling. I feel, I've said it, Ron Rivera is not the guy there. It's not the guy that's going to help this Commanders team really grow. Sam Howell has all the promising aspects of a quarterback. He just needs to get the right play caller. He needs to get the right new mentality, the fresh ideas and stuff like that. So I feel like Ron Rivera will either retire or probably get fired at the end of the season. Hopefully retired, because obviously he doesn't, he doesn't deserve to be fired right away. I feel like the Commanders are mediocre at best, but I don't think Ron Rivera should be fired like that. I think at the end of the day, he should, resign or retire at the end of the season. So yeah, that was a really good divisional matchup. On the other side, you had the Cowboys and the Rams. This was a game that I thought was going to be a little closer just because of the play the Cowboys have been having. The Cowboys have been, I would say, very disappointing. Dak Prescott has been very disappointing. The only aspect of it that I really enjoy, and I enjoy watching day to day, is obviously the defense. The defense is actually rock solid, one of the best defenses in the game. Micah Parsons just phenomenal. And, it was a dismantling. The Rams got destroyed all 4 quarters. I mean, in the beginning, in the first half, it was a complete shutout. But, the Rams slowly crept back in. But at the end of the day, the Cowboys were just too dominant. Big performances by Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. Dak Prescott went for 25 for 31 with 4 touchdowns. And then CeeDee Lamb had 12 receptions, 150 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So, man, if you had CeeDee in your fantasy lineups, you cooked, because CeeDee Lamb went off. And not to even... And if you picked up Brandon Cooks in the wires, you also kind of benefited. He had 60 yards for a touchdown. So there you go. If you got Cooks in the wire like I didn't, you definitely enjoyed some points. On the other side, the Rams, they look disappointing. Kupp and Puka did not look too good. the running game was a little different. Royce and both Royce and Henderson enjoyed some good yardage, some good production. Again, not a solid, not a solid RB1 in LA, but I would give the nod to Henderson for sure. I think Henderson should be the running back one and should be the running back to consider in your wires, to consider in your flex lineup as we head on to the remainder of the season. The big takeaway, the big news out of that is that Matthew Stafford sprained his UCL, which was in his thumb. And that's pretty big. It wasn't his throwing arm, thankfully. It was it was his left hand. So, that's going to be the major news. And that is the major news right now, currently. As of the recording today, he has not practiced, which means he may not play this Sunday against the Packers, which is pretty substantial because the Rams are going to this weekend with, maybe hopes of getting a W before the bye comes around. But without Matthew Stafford, it's going to be very interesting. Then the situation is like, who's the backup? I heard Stetson Bennett is currently on not the IR, but I forgot what other. It was another list that they have. But he's been dealing with some out of field issues, so maybe they get him back into the mix. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting for the Rams. I think if I'm personally, if I'm McVay, if I'm anyone in the Rams front office, I say to rest them. Not to be a biased Packers fan, but rest them and let him take this week off, let him get the bye week off, and then he can be okay. Because with a sprain like that, you don't want to play. You definitely don't want to play. You want to avoid a just a field situation where you may be out for a couple weeks. So yeah, I think they rest him. I think that's the best bet they can do because the bye week is after. So it sucks for Anguiano because I know he's going to be mad about that. But hey, man, I just feel like at this point, if he's not practicing, it just means you need to really consider benching him. Not benching him, but letting him sit. Now we're going to talk about the other side, the Packers and the Vikings. Again, I'm really just going to minimize and only going to talk about certain games because there were some few games that, had big storylines coming out of it. Obviously, you had the Titans, coming out of nowhere, the Titans, with Will Levis. Surprisingly, Will Levis, man, he cooked. Him and D-Hop were going for, oh my God, man. That was like another storyline that I kind of should have talked more about. But I got to say, if Will Levis is the future, bye-bye, Ryan Tannehill. Your job's gone. Yeah, Will Levis looked really good out there, and it looked like prime D-Hop. It really did, prime D-Hop. What can I say? I mean, the Titans may have, got a diamond in the rough. Will Levis dropped down to the third round, and here he is, balling out. He looked a lot better than. I mean, it's gonna be a tough take to say, but he looked a lot better than Young. Honestly, Bryce Young. I don't know. I think I don't know. I might be over exaggerating, but Will Levis, if he does good this week, just watch out because, I mean, when you get drafted so late into the NFL and you had all this hype around you being a first round pick, the ceiling, the ceiling is lower, but once you burst that ceiling, it's like, oh my God, all these teams really gave up on one guy just because, everyone else started like giving up on him, and the media was like, oh, he's not ready, he's overhyped. Who knows? But yeah, shout out to the Titans. They definitely deserve that dub. And, Will Levis gets some that burst of new energy, that burst of new air, definitely. So on to, again, the other side of the narrative for the Packers-Ram matchup. The Packers continue to completely fall down. Now sitting at a 2-5 record. They lost to the Vikings 24-10. And Jordan Love didn't look too good. He was 24 for 41, 229 yards, and 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Again, it's not looking too good out there. It's just not. I don't know what to say. I just feel like the experiment is collapsing before our very eyes. And as a Packers fan, it hurts. But I'm not giving up hope as for my quarterback, Jordan Love, it's his first year. He's had only 2 years. I believe he has 2 years under his belt as a backup. He's still 8 games into his career, 7 games. You can't just completely diminish his playing ability on 7 games. Today there was a report that Gunst, our freaking GM, has said that all the next 10 games are really gonna tell a lot. And what that tells me is that he's trying to put a fire under Love to really step it up, because he has good games. Don't get me wrong, he's looked really good in certain games, and then he's looked really bad like this one. And I hope it's just something to start a fire under Love, and not really a threat to his playing time, not a threat to his job. Because the reality is I consider him a rookie quarterback, and if you're just gonna give up on him on one season, it says a lot. It says a lot about him as a GM and how the whole Aaron Rodgers thing played out. So I'm kind of I'm kind of 50-50 on how I feel about that. I feel like those comments could be motivational. Those comments could be inspirational. But at the end of the day, they could also be double. There could be a double meaning to it. But the biggest takeaway of that was that Kirk Cousins was doing really good. But this is where it got really sad. And that's Kirk Cousins tore his Achilles on a non-contact play. He was running and scrambling and tore it completely. It was a very scary sight, as the video shows. It was a freak accident. That's like how many Achilles injuries I've seen in my times watching sports, from Kobe, KD, Aaron Rodgers, and now Kirk Cousins. So it's like it's pretty sad to see he's out for the season. He had successful surgery today as a Wednesday, and the Vikings have decided to go trade for Josh Dobbs, which is a solid play. I feel like Josh Dobbs did pretty good for the Cardinals with whatever he had, and so putting him on the Vikings may kind of lessen the damage, I guess. Maybe help the Vikings, not be too bad. And if they get Jefferson back, then who knows how this could play out. But prayers up for Kirk Cousins. Definitely don't like to see a great competitor go down like that, because the man has been balling up for years now. Honestly, one of the most underrated quarterbacks. So definitely, hoping for a speedy recovery, and hopefully, I'm a Packers fan, diehard Packers fan, but I hope that he could stay in Minnesota, because I feel like he's the heart and soul of Minnesota. He's a big leader, and I think he has a lot to prove with Minnesota. And I think if he gets healthy, hopefully the Vikings can offer him, a contract back, at least for a year, while they figure out whether he's not the guy or not. But shout out to Kirk Cousins, and hopefully he heals up, But on to the afternoon games, the Bengals and the Niners. A game that I really was hyped for, a game that I was really excited for. What Niners were we going to get? What Bengals were we going to get? And at the end of the day, we got the vintage Bengals, because the Bengals won 31-17. My bad, 31-17. The Bengals are back. What can I say? There was a lot of overreactions, and to be honest, there's a lot of overreactions from my part, from certain teams. I'll start off, by naming the Jaguars. I'll start off by naming the Colts. I'll start off by naming the Bengals. These are teams that I thought were going to do really good, and I thought they were going to do bad. Like, I thought the Colts were not going to be that great, or I thought I overhyped the Colts. I underhyped the Jaguars. I threw everything at the Bengals, saying that they're done. But week by week, we see, like, the Bengals are climbing back up. The Jaguars definitely climbed up. The Colts are kind of mediocre, falling off. So now onto the Bengals, man. Burrow cooked with 3 touchdowns. What can I say? 3 touchdowns is a lot. 283 yards, man. But the guy always open. Jamar Chase had 10 receptions for 100 yards and a touchdown. The man is cooking. What can I say? The man is cooking. Jamar Chase, I'm happy. If you have those Jamar Chase shares, you're definitely enjoying it, because he's back. He's really balling out. I'm happy. The Bengals look really good out there, and Joe Burrow is definitely not showing signs of the lingering, calf injury. But the 49ers, what can I say? The 49ers, they're not looking too good. The 49ers are not looking at all. They're looking like a shadow of themselves. Brock Purdy had 1 touchdown for 2 interceptions. The last 3 games, Brock Purdy has looked like a pedestrian. He's looked like a backup quarterback. And to be honest, he's never going to beat the system QB allegations because, Shanahan has only had system quarterbacks as of right now. He's had Jimmy G, he's had Trey Lance, he's had, if I can remember, maybe Kirk Cousins, maybe. I don't remember. But Kirk Cousins beat him. But what I'm trying to say is that Purdy is not looking too good. I feel like they rushed him when it comes to that concussion protocol that he was going through. I feel like they rushed him to get him on the field since it was a big game. But I don't know. I just feel like the 49ers have some things to address, which they have failed to, in my opinion, for the trade deadline. But, the positives are that CMC continued the streak. He's now at 17. He had 2 touchdowns. He was really carrying the Niners that game. One more touchdown to really break the record. 18. That'd be 18 games. 18 games. With a 18-game scoring streak, which is insane. But if there's one player that I can think of that could do it, it's CMC, because CMC is a freak, and the man can do it all. He really can. I wouldn't be surprised if he could cover some elite receivers. But no, yeah, the 49ers definitely had some things to address in the deadline, but they didn't address I feel was the offensive line. The offensive line is something definitely they could have really addressed in the deadline. Instead, they addressed the defense, which was already elite enough, but they got Chase Young. They got Chase Young for a 2024 third-round pick. If we're thinking about a fleece, this is a fleece, because Chase Young is a freak athlete. When he's healthy, he's one of the most, agile, one of the most strongest defensive ends in the game. And my God, man, I love Chase Young. Again, I'm an Ohio State fan, so Chase Young was just a freak, dude. That 1 year with us, he was just unstoppable, unguardable. And now he's reunited with Bosa, another Ohio State legend in my opinion. And man, I don't know. I think it's really a move to counter the big running games in the NFC. You got Pollard, you got Swift, you got like Fields, other running backs that are running the NFC. And now you have a defensive line that has Javon Hargrave, Randy Gregory, Eric Armstead, Drake Jackson. Oh, man, it's just, and Bosa, it's crazy. It's crazy to think about. That's like a dream defensive line. Like, even I feel like in Madden they would not let you do this, because holy crap, they got Randy Gregory in this season too, and then Javon Hargrave, they got him in the offseason. So like, man, what the heck, when Anguiano was saying that that Lynch is not a great GM, I was like, man, you're full of it, because Lynch is one of the best GMs. And look at this, man. They fleeced the Commanders again, because a couple of years ago they got Trent Williams for like a third-round pick again, or third or fourth. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, the trade deadline is something we're going to discuss at the end of the breakdowns. But this is one that really surprised me, and it was the Broncos upsetting the Chiefs. Like, my God, I did not expect an upset. If there was going to be an upset, it was going to be a closer score. But the Broncos won 24-9. The Chiefs had no touchdowns. Mahomes was just bad. He threw 2 picks. It has to be arguably one of his worst games as a Chiefs player. And, everyone on the Chiefs did poorly. McCole Hardman came back. He didn't do anything. Kelsey was okay, but he didn't have his usual game. Pacheco, again, was just average. CEH was average. It just was an average game from everyone. but poor overall. But the defense, Russell Wilson, he had a modest game. He didn't have to do too much. He was 12 for 19 for 114 yards and 3 touchdowns, which is pretty. That's crazy to think about. That's really crazy to think about. And I believe it was Judy Sutton. They scored, and Javonte scored too. So now this breaks the 16-game losing streak that the Broncos had against the Chiefs, which is insane. Literally, the last win they had against the Chiefs was when they had Peyton Manning as their quarterback. That's pretty crazy. That's insane. But yeah, Chiefs looked pretty bad out there. I mean, I feel like a stinker was going to come. It was undeniable that one day, a stinker from the Chiefs was going to come. I just didn't expect it against the Broncos, because the Broncos have, always lost to the Chiefs. Then a lot of people were pulling, pulling jokes at the Chiefs. Even the Broncos, PA team, they were, blasting Taylor Swift after the game. So they were definitely mocking the Chiefs there. I don't know if it's going to work out for them later in the season, but that brings the question: does Taylor Swift bring that juju, bring that magic to Kelsey? That's why he did bad, because she wasn't there. I'm not for it. I don't care much about the Taylor Swift publicity, but it's just funny, just the memes that came out of it, and then the Broncos just mocking them. It's funny. The Chiefs will bounce back. They're going to have stinkers like that. Maybe the elevation played a role. I don't know. But at the end of the day, congrats to the Broncos. They got their Super Bowl win. Now onto their divisional rivals, which is the Monday Night Football game, the Raiders and the Lions. So I had really no hopes of watching this game, because I kind of knew what was going to happen. And it happened. The Lions steamrolled the Raiders 26-14. The biggest takeaways I can say is that, man, Jahmyr Gibbs, that guy's gonna be something special. Jahmyr Gibbs is gonna be something special, because the man cooked. He had 152 yards for 1 touchdown. My God, the man cooked. He definitely broke the allegations that he was not going to do anything, that he was a bust. No. The guy has the greatest potential. And whoever has him in fantasy definitely cheered, definitely was happy about it, because the man was unstoppable out there. And it really is going to depend on the Montgomery situation. If Montgomery is going to come back, it might hinder him a little bit. But I think at this point, Motor City Campbell should definitely consider him as the running back 1, because the guy just steamrolled over a defense that isn't as bad. I mean, the Raiders' rushing defense isn't too bad. So give him the ball, let him run, let him score for you, let him show you what he's about, why he was a first-round pick. I feel, or a top 10 pick at most. It's impressive. It's impressive what I saw to Gibbs. It's impressive what I saw out of the Lions, and I think they're okay. They had a stumble last week, but they're sitting at 5-2, and they're solid. They're really solid. As for the Raiders, man, the Raiders are just falling apart. The Raiders, I mean, they're all over the place, and this game was really the end game. Really the how would I say it? The seal of approval for Mark Davis. This was the final nail in the coffin for Mark Davis, because he was like, all right, enough is enough. Jimmy G got benched. Josh McDaniels got fired. Dave Ziegler, the GM, got fired. So it was yesterday was Black Tuesday, because everyone on the Raiders was on the chopping block. Jimmy G getting benched was inedible. Jimmy G looked like total garbage, in my opinion. And McDaniels and Ziegler were definitely not going to be there for the long run at all. It's a rare Raiders dub. A rare Raiders dub, because Mark Davis has had enough, and he knows that the team was going to go completely to shit. And they listened to their star. They listened to Davante Adams. Every week it seemed to get worse. The interviews were getting worse and worse and worse. And Devontae Adams was like, "I'd love to be a Raider, but no, we know that, we know the reality. The Raiders are just garbage." And Devontae Adams was going to suffer through it. Josh Jacobs also was like, "Well, I can't do anything about it." And so they put that pressure on. And I bet you Crosby did too. I bet you Crosby had something to say. And the reality is that the team was going nowhere, and these guys were going to request trades. And Devontae Adams did. I mean, Devontae Adams had enough. And with this moves, that these moves really are going to change the whole outlook, I hope, for the Raiders. Maybe they start looking for a younger coach, or maybe they start looking for a veteran coach. Who knows? But at the end of the day, it's really going to be dependent on the quarterback. Because Devontae Adams needs someone that can throw it to him. He needs someone that can throw far passes, because that's Devontae Adams go to. Him and Aaron Rodgers were just launching bombs. Derek Carr launching bombs. Jimmy G can't even throw for 5 yards. So we'll see what happens. But they definitely need to look at a new quarterback, new GM, new coach, new everything. They need an all. They need a new system. They need a system change. But yeah, that covers the main games I really wanted to touch upon, because there was a lot to go on during that week. Ritter got benched, so now they're gonna have Heineke. That's pretty interesting. What else can I say? Daniel Jones is coming back next week. Pretty interesting. Kenny Pickett's healthy. He should be playing. Fields is still gonna be sitting out just for a couple games. I think maybe next week he'll come back. And then I heard someone was gonna be gone for a couple weeks. I can't remember exactly, but I think Waller, yeah, Darren Waller. Darren Waller might be out for a couple weeks. He has a hamstring injury. He had to leave the game halfway. Yeah, he didn't look too good. Curtis Samuel also got injured, and Dotson did solid. Dotson was the main guy that Howell really targeted, but overall, those were the main injuries, the biggest moves that happened. The trade deadline was very eventful. So now we're gonna really discuss and dive into what trades happened. So the first one I'm gonna discuss is one that's deep in my heart. Rasul Douglas, cornerback for the Packers, got traded to the Buffalo Bills for a fifth round pick. It makes me sad, because Rasul Douglas was definitely one of my favorite players. He was definitely growing on me. I felt like last season he was just a dog, and I was happy to bring him back. I was happy to have him with us one more year. But him going like that was just kind of sad to me. I just felt like the Packers should have gotten a bit more, if anything. But, it just sucks, when you lose a corner like that, and it just shows... It shows a lot about the GM. I don't know if the GM thinks that it's time to pack it up and call it or something, because I don't know. I just don't understand the move. He's going to Buffalo, which is, really needed a corner. Is going to need corners going up against guys like Jamar Chase, So it's a solid move for them. What I find funny is that Rasul Douglas last year was talking crap to Allen. I'll have a picture here. How about that? Another move that happened in the NFC North was that Donovan Peoples-Jones got moved from Cleveland to Detroit, back to Michigan. He played for Michigan. Got traded for a 2025 sixth-round pick, which is a solid move for the Lions. They have they'll have some insurance behind St. Brown, behind JMO, behind Reynolds. They'll have some insurance with Donovan Peoples-Jones, who isn't a bad wide receiver. He just didn't have the chances with Cleveland. And plus, Cleveland is probably looking to draft a wide receiver in this upcoming draft. These last two trades that happened were one of the more earlier ones, and that was Leonard Williams going to the Seahawks, and that was Kevin Byard going to the Eagles. These two players are dogs and definitely deserve to be in different situations, better situations. Leonard Williams going to the Giants for the Seahawks was a big move, because the Leonard Williams definitely fits that team, and they needed a defensive lineman, and especially against teams that have good running backs like Pollard, like CMC. You need big guys at the line. Again, Kevin Byard, he's a corner, and the Eagles needed a corner immediately. because the NFC is stacked. Another thing is that the NFC is stacked with wide receivers. And if you're going to go deep into the playoffs, you're going to go against guys like Debo, guys like CeeDee, maybe, guys like, who else? DK Metcalf. These are guys that, you got to be definitely, conscious of. And they definitely secured pieces that they needed if they want to go deep. My only issue with the Seahawks and the Giants trade is that I feel like the Seahawks may have given up a little bit too much. And that was a 2024 second round pick and a 5th round pick. The second round pick that's a reach. That's kind of crazy. I feel like the Seahawks might have fumbled that a little bit, and the Giants definitely gained a lot for that. Kevin Byard went for a bit more, which was Terrell Edmonds, a 2024 5th round pick and a 6th round pick, which is again a reach. But I feel like the reality is that the Giants and the Titans, who had these players, knew that these two teams needed these players, so they asked for more, and so that's what happened. This is what happened, and both teams pulled the trigger. Who knows? I mean, I feel like both pieces will be good, but I think Kevin Byard is going to be the one that's going to really benefit the most, and is really going to be an impact player right away because, yeah, the NFC is really stacked with good wide receivers, and he's definitely going to have to stack up with some big names. But overall, that's pretty much the end of the episode. A lot to cover, a lot to discuss. It was a solo episode, but shout out to Anguiano, who's going to have fun in Green Bay. It's kind of crazy to think that he's going to be in Green Bay before I've ever gone. But hey, man, it happens. Circumstances happen. And that's always what you got to understand is that, when things happen, you got to just, roll with it, But yeah, he's going to have some fun. Green Bay, Rams. We have a bet on the line. If the Green Bay Packers win, he's going to have to wear some Packers merch. If the Rams win, I'm going to have wear some merch. And it's going to suck. But we'll see. It's going to be a closer matchup than we expect. And if the Packers win, great. If the Rams win, well, oh well. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. This is the Last Down Podcast, episode 25. Thank you guys. Subscribe, like, comment, and yeah, continue supporting. Thank you guys.